So welcome, folks. As usual, we're going to start with a reading from Emmett Fox for 26 October. It's titled, When? And he writes, when your knees are knocking together and you do not know which way to turn, think of God and his goodness. And then he has a series of points. When prosperity seems out of the question, give thanks for God's abundance. When you want peace of mind, dwell upon the presence of God. When your health is under par, speak the healing word. When you need inspiration, browse through the Bible. When the situation seems to need a miracle, remember that nothing is too difficult for God and that he is performing miracles every day. And then from Joshua, I will not fail thee nor forsake thee. Or in the Lamsa translation, I will not fail you nor forsake you. So today, folks, as we approach All Hallows Eve, I announced earlier and then sent out a message that we want to celebrate today those ancestors on whose shoulders we are standing. The title is Standing on the Shoulders of Our Ancestors. And it's both a pagan tradition and an African tradition. The phrase standing on the shoulders of our ancestors means that it's a metaphor for recognizing our progress, that our progress is not achieved in isolation from the world or from our family or from others, but as a result of past generations' efforts and struggles. It both encourages recognition of what we've gotten from the past, but it also should encourage humility, since we have not done this by ourselves. And certainly it can be applied even to fields of scientific progress, since we can track in science how developments came from someone else's discovery before. And our move forward, our standing on the shoulders of our ancestors, also reflects the Heisenberg family constellation therapy. It's not well known. I don't know if any of you know of it, but it's built on a tradition, I believe, in the Zulu tribe. If they have someone who's mentally disturbed, they form a circle around that person and invite in people from that person's ancestry who have contributed to the problem that the person is having now. And by understanding and acknowledging, I remember one where I was standing in for somebody. It's all, several of us were, different people pop up in the process, and I don't really understand the process, but I became catatonic. And in going through the process, this is so far back that the person that was being worked on has no clue who it was. But that person with catatonia, and thus with severe mental illness, had a major effect on this here and now person. So that's, if you will, the toxic, but we can go the other way too, that generations back, long removed from anybody we have any knowledge of, people in our DNA pathway, if you will, our familial pathway, have done things that have helped us be who we are, become who we can be in this lifetime. Nicholas Kristof, the editorialist, said that we're in a relay race relying on the financial and human capital of our parents, our grandparents, our ancestors. And the African proverb is, if we stand tall, it is because we stand on the shoulders of many ancestors. So that's the basic concept. And today, I'm hoping each of us will feel free to share with us someone on whose shoulders, or from whose shoulders, if I can put it that way, they have benefited. But I also want to broaden the concept a little bit. Uh, there are some folks, and I'm one of them, um, who have to balance what good our ancestors provided us versus the damage they induced. Um, I'm slowly coming to realize what a great deficit I started going through life and when I came into adulthood, because my parents were so damaged. And yet that doesn't mean we should overlook whatever positives that they did bring to the table that we were able to build upon. It's just that we've had to build on the deficit. And then there are folks I want to acknowledge who have been deprived of knowledge of their ancestors. Orphans are a good example. But again, I don't even know the names of my grandparents. I think one of them was named Olaf. That's all I've got. So it's hard to look back and build when you don't even know who your ancestors are. And then I want to acknowledge and extend this as an invitation. Some of us have had the good fortune to have what I'll call non-DNA shoulders to stand on, to people who have stood in, if you will, to provide what we failed to receive from our DNA ancestors. And tonight I'm going to be sharing one of those, I think. So whether you have someone you want to share with us who's directly part of your family or on whose shoulders you're standing, even though they weren't an immediate part of your family, here's how I want to set this up. I've got a timer, and I'm going to invite each person to share, one person. If you happen to have a memento, something to show us, great. If you just want to tell us about it, that's great. But I'm going to use the timer so that we don't exceed a minute for anybody. So if you see me going like this, that means your time's up. And so understand that part of our understanding here is whatever you say, I think we'll all agree, we'll stay in confidence. But when you have finished, then I want all of us, as part of this, to say together, as an affirmation, we are standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. And Dave, if you're willing, I'd like to have you start.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a memento, but I do have memories for surely. And I'll first say that as you were talking about how people in your immediate family you may not even know them that well, or or maybe wish that you didn't. And I, for one, am the product of a who what was a abusive father and an alcoholic mother, and so that's kind of how I started. But what I did have in my corner was a maternal grandmother who was like the rock and pillar, and still somebody who I still sort of harken back to and think about quite a bit, and particularly now, given the things that my mother's going through. And among the things that she kind of taught me is something kind of a little thing, but something that's been like foolproof. Something so simple that was passed down to my mother, and my mother passed down to me. Like when you sometimes get like the hiccups, for example, I got like something that's never failed me. If you figure out some way to hold your earlobes closed and drink 10 swallows of water, it has never failed me. And so I've gotten so good at it, I can actually hold a cup and drink while I'm holding my ears at the same time. Or as a young child, when I'm at school, you can, put your elbow on the water fountain and hold your ears and drink 10 swallows of water. That has never failed me. But beyond that, the thing that I really admired about my maternal grandmother, she was like the strongest, sort of smartest woman I've ever probably encountered. So much so, that I kind of look at my mother as she's gotten in her advanced age, and I kind of think like, man, how come you're not more like Granny was? Because Granny had you know, in fact, one of the things that I really admired about my grandmother is that my dad, who was, like I said, abusive and kind of a bully, really. My grandmother was one of the few people who would kind of like, you know, sternly put him in his place, and that's why I loved her all the more. And I think she appreciated me for having to, you know, to deal with that. So yeah, my grandmother, we called her Granny. Mary was her name, and she was like a great source of support. And one more thing I'll quickly add, uh, when we were living in I think we were living yeah, we were living in Allentown, Pennsylvania. This is probably, oh man, Johan's age. Johan was probably maybe a couple years old. We were living in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I remember I was in the kitchen cooking, and like I felt somebody come back behind me and kind of put their arms around me from the behind. And honestly, at first, I thought it was you, Mary. But then lo and behold, and I just stood there. I didn't turn around. I just kind of embraced and just, enjoyed the embrace of somebody coming behind me and give me a gentle hug from behind. Lo and behold, as I enjoyed it for just a moment, I go and look, turn around, and there's nobody behind me. And then I look outside, Johan and Yusmer are out on the balcony. And so I thought then, and I had it later confirmed, I can't remember by who, that that was my grandmother coming and giving me
Mhm.
some gentle love. And so that's something else that stood with me. And I kind of wish that she would come back more often, because my mother, as she has kind of fallen, and deteriorated over the last couple of years, she's actually had visions of my grandmother coming to visit. So much so that a
Okay,
couple,
got to cut you off, Dave.
yeah, okay.
So we all say we are standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. Okay, Leah.
All I know is my grandmother was German, born in Cincinnati. Met my grandfather. I don't know how, but I called him a Mississippi Scot. They were from Mississippi for many years, who knows how far back. And somehow he met her in Cincinnati and they got married in Cincinnati. And my grandmother had to speak German in her household. So that part I do know. But at the same time, like I tell people, I said, I understand in a way why my mother's the way she is, because I've met her mother. So I understand. I did not have a father. He didn't know what to do with females. Well, little kids, I should say. He knew how to pick them up. The adult females. He knew how to do that. But other than that, the one person I met in North Carolina, I had a vision. I was going there and I went there and I met her. It's one of those things you think it's random, you think it's whatever. In reality, it was meant to be, because she's the only person that I have met where I told her if I had to give my life so she could live, I would do that. She's the only person I said I'd give my life to.
Okay,
And
I need
but
to
I
bring
told
you
her
to a
there's one
close.
stipulation: has to be no pain.
Okay,
But she was always there for me, very supportive. And I'll cut it
okay.
off now. Thank you,
So
Brian.
we all say we are standing on the shoulders
Standing
of
on the
our
shoulders of our
ancestors.
ancestors.
And we'll be clear when we're saying that. I want us all to understand the ancestors may not be DNA related.
I will pick my mother. She was an enormously loving and caring woman, and she was just very supportive of my sister and myself. Had a Parents had a very happy marriage. Um, she's just was willing to go out of her way for other people and make them feel comfortable. And I have a little figurine here, little
Okay,
sea creature. She bought that from a woman who was trying to make money to take care of her husband. The husband had been in an accident, and my mother bought several of those things. And that's just how she is. She was always very supportive of other people. So that's it.
thank you. And
Yep.
we all say we are standing on the
Standing on the
shoulders
shoulders
of our
of our
ancestors.
ancestors. Okay.
Ellie and then Sylvie.
I'm going to use my mom since she's the only one I really know, like physically. I've had visions of two other women. Um, my mom taught me a lot in her actions. She didn't have a chance to really, teach me, I guess, in a traditional way, how when you teach a child, writing things down, that sort of thing, because she passed when I was really, really young. But I learned by watching her a lot. And then years later, I figured out, oh, that's what she was doing. So I have no doubt that she's always been there. And then the two other women I've often seen in visions. One woman, I don't know, must have been maybe 1600s era, big room, looks like I don't know, a big butcher block with cabinetries and little shelves in it, little cubbies that she had like bottles of herbs and tinctures and cards and that she read from and books and just stuffed and stacked all over the place. And so that's probably where I got everything else that I'm studying now. And the other one was more of a medicine woman dressed in that garb with long braids, while crafting for herbs. So I have no idea who those two women are. I just keep seeing them. And so, and whenever I have questions of things, one or all three of those women show up and offer me wisdom that I can use on this side. So that is, my memories.
Okay. Thank you. And we all say, we are standing on the shoulders of our
Of our
ancestors.
ancestors.
Okay, Sylvie, and then we'll go to Teresa.
Say my mother and her mother, my grandmother. My grandmother passed when I was, oh geez, I must have been about 6. I lived in the United States at that time. She lived in Canada. So I do remember my mother taking me and we'd get on the train and we went to Canada. And yeah, so that was when she was passing, but a lot of what I've been told about my grandmother was from my mother's lips, because I didn't know her when she was younger. But my mother also, like my grandmother, like some of the women that Ellie was talking about, she certainly did know a lot about herbal medicine. And I did learn that. It's funny, but I've learned to do a lot of things that were not in style anymore, like that are old tasks to do, like spinning wool, sewing, all kinds of weird things like that I think are throwbacks from the past.
Thank you. And we all say, we are
We're
standing on the
standing
shoulders of our ancestors. Teresa, and then we'll come to Kalan.
So, my only like ancestor that somebody in the family did a family tree on my dad's side, and there were some Quakers or Mennonites or something like that that came over, and they place, and one of them, all I remember, somebody in there was I guess a religious person, a Quaker or a Mennonite, and they were helpers of the underground slaves. They were helpers of the Underground Railroad, and that makes me very proud. I don't know anything other than that. And then as far as what really affects me is my mother, who of course has passed. My mom and dad both, they passed down a lot of curses and blessings, and we're all full of those things. And um, they were staunch Catholics. Mom was a convert, and it was like no bet. We just had mom had baby after baby, and she was sick, and she was not happy. And but and Dad was like, you could have took Jesus out of the Catholic Church, he wouldn't have noticed, because as long as the Pope was there, because if Mom did something he didn't like, he'd say the Pope takes a dim view of that. So we were taught to be afraid of the Catholic Church. But Mom would, she had an open mind. Her escape was to go to the library and get books. And she was very much into, she'd go through a jag of horoscopes or civil mind control. Okay, so you need me to wind it up? 3, 4. So I would say basically my mom is my best person to keep an open mind about spiritual things.
Okay.
And that's who I'm standing on.
Okay. We are standing
Standing
on the shoulders
shoulder of
of our
our
ancestors.
ancestors.
Paul, you have someone you want to share?
Not sure. I forgot to bring something.
No, most people don't have something visible, so don't worry about that.
I never knew my grandparents. I knew my mother's mother is the only one of them that I knew. The rest had passed before I was born.
Uh-huh.
Knew my mother's mother. That's about it. And I don't really know much about her. She had a lot of, being the youngest of 11 kids, she didn't see a lot of her mothers.
Okay. Mary? Someone you're standing on the shoulders of?
Oh, just probably my mom and dad.
Anything you want to share about them?
My mom was always ready to help people and make them feel welcome. And they came over, and Dad was kind of good with like showing me where the little animals were. So like the toads and things like that.
Okay. I want to acknowledge 3 different men who at various parts of my life took me under their wing and taught me at least some of what I needed to learn about how to live. One of them was my doctor when I was in middle school and high school, who would take me out on his boat fishing. Just doing things together with a wholesome man, something that I hadn't otherwise experienced. His name is Dr. Daniels. And then Bill Hayden, who met me in college and sort of stayed as a mentor to me through his death. Every so often he'd be checking in, and he showed me parts of how life worked. He devoted his life to working to make the world a better place. And I certainly follow that. And David Myers, who was one of the TA people who helped me get well and served as sort of a father figure in that sense. I could call him when I wasn't sure what to do, and he would guide me through it. Without those 3 men, I might well still be someplace living in a basement, drugging myself up because of my problems. But they gave me some foothold, and I thank them for it. And we say, we are standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. Let us now sort of move into a silence, but a slightly different silence this time. Each of us has brought back to life, if I can put it that way, someone who had impact on you. Let's take this silence to connect with them, allow them to know of our gratitude, and perhaps they will have some wisdom or something to share with us. So we'll move into our normal silence, but with a different purpose right now. Thank you, God, for having brought us together. Thank you for lifting each of us closer into you. Thank you for guiding each of us on our paths toward greater spiritual richness and greater spiritual understanding. Thank you for protecting us, for giving us the words to say when we're in a position to guide someone else. Thank you for guiding us when to lay a hand on someone, when to say a prayer for someone. And we thank you for guiding us through this week with greater success, greater happiness, greater abundance, and enabling us to return here again to join with our community. We say thank you for all this good. Thank you, and amen.